Are you looking for a faster video? Well, today it's a live stream, and I know you're probably looking for a really nice and tidy, edited down video, but I have ways for you to make it faster. You can click that little gear on the YouTube settings right there on the video and adjust the playback speed, make me sound like a chipmunk, and it'll go a lot faster. You can also look and see if there's timestamps for this project in the description, and if you're on a desktop, you can hover over the time bar at the bottom of the screen and see if it's chunked up into chapters, and then that way you can go directly to the step you're looking for. And lastly, you can also tap on the screen on the right hand side of the video picture or on the left hand side to make the video jump ahead, forward or backward if you're on a mobile device. And you can adjust that amount in your settings so you can have complete control over how much it jumps. So if you are on a desktop, you can use the fast forward or the rewind, and that will make it go faster as well. You can also enable subtitles, and the little CC on the screen will enable closed captioning. That way, if I am a little bit harder to understand with that double playback speed, the subtitles might help you out. All right, well, I know that it's not a nice little edited video, but if you sew with me, we'll get there together and it'll be lots of fun. And now for the live stream. Happy sewing! Hello! How are you guys? Happy Wednesday! I can't believe it's already Wednesday. It's crazy. I feel like every time I start the week, I'm like, okay, it's forever until the weekend, and then Wednesday, Thursday, it happens fast. So, welcome. I'm Sarah. This is So Live, and today we're making the Texas top by Personal Clothing. And oh, and you know what? I think, let's see where this is at. Ooh, that's not so bad. That's not a bad spot. Oops. Wait, where is it? I lost it. No! Let's put that up there. Here we go. Let's move it. Let's hope that's not in the way. Let's see. Make it a little smaller. Put this guy way over here. Can't even see what it says. There we go. All right. So, because this is sponsored by Hearts Fabric, I wanted to make sure I put that on the screen because they do offer a 10% discount. You can read, there's a little code right here. And, you know, that will cover your shipping or whatever. And they have such an amazing selection of garment fabrics. So, when I went there, I was blown away. Hey, Mrs. Necro. Hey, Serena. How's it going? So they send me projects occasionally, and then I sew them up, and then I send them back, and then they display them in their store. And then that way they have, you know, samples to show their customers, and then they can also say, hey, look, there's a video if you need some help. So that's kind of my low-key sponsorship. I don't do the timer so much on the cutting videos, Mrs. Necro. Hey, Mullen. But thank you for that reminder. Yeah, I'm not doing very good at my timestamps. I'm trying to do it as I go, but I'm just well, I want to say I'm so focused on what I'm doing with you guys, but you see also that it's just a lot of things to manage at once. So, anyway. All right, so the Texas top is a wrap style top. And let's see, so what can I tell you about this? So it has an asymmetrical collar, so you can see that the collar on the left side stops shy of the center front opening here. And then it also, the undershirt here, the part that's wrapped over, kind of hangs out below a little bit. I think that's how it's supposed to be worn. It's like that in the video. And then let's see, here's a nice little sketch, but there's no back view sketch, but it is just simple in the back, just a solid, no shaping like darts or anything. Fairly straightforward and simple to sew. I think the collar would probably be the thing that might give a beginner some, you know, a little bit of struggle, you know, but I feel like I have some ideas for you if you want to make it a little simpler. Like even just adding a facing to this would make it a lot easier to sew. Hey, Hannah, how's it going? Yeah, it's okay, Mrs. Decker. I think timestamps would be really helpful, but you know, I just can't do it all. I just cannot do it all. Like the amount of stuff I do off camera is a lot of stuff, and it's just not enough time, you know. And I give myself 2 days off a week, so I'm so lazy, right? Hey, Elena, how's it going? So thanks to Hearts for this fabric and pattern. It's kind of a boxy type, but I do feel like in the right fabric, it would probably be pretty drapey. Now, one thing that Hearts kind of gave me feedback on, because one of the employees has sewn a couple, is she felt it was a little bit short. And in the photo, I would never guess that. And I'm not sure if it's because the pants being worn are go up to the natural waistline. So it kind of gives you the illusion that it's not very short. I did measure it on me, and I have a tape measure right here. And this is, you can't even see my dress form here. Let's see. This is a mini me. Well, it's not mini. It's the same as me. I wish. Hey, Amanda. How's it going? Oh, it only came in paper format? That's so rare, Malin. You know? That is so rare. So when I measure the top, this is how I would check. I actually think that measuring the length of a garment is so important, because that is one thing. It's really hard to change the length of a garment when you've already sewn it up. It is one of the rare things you just can't come back from. And I think I saw that she added a band along the bottom, which looks actually really cute and like a really good idea for an alternative style, because it kind of goes with the band of the neckline. It's weird to see myself in the camera when it's not flipped. So hello, Libby. Good morning. Good morning. So this is how I would do it. Now this is assuming that the shoulder line on the pattern is roughly where I am measuring from, right? And so I always do the high pointed shoulder. So sometimes what I like to do is figure out what I want before I measure the pattern. That way I'm not swayed by the pattern length, and I'm not like, oh yeah, 18, that'll be fine. So what I do is I kind of go to my high hip, because that's kind of where I like things. Or, you know, like this is like probably an inch below my top of my underwear too. So I know that my pants will cover that, right? So that is 22 inches. And if we measure this at the seam line, we'll see that that's about the same. That's funny. When I measured it earlier, it was a little bit shorter, but maybe, let's look at the shoulder line. So one of the things you can do to determine where the shoulder line's actually going to hit is line it up at the armhole here. So now interestingly, so I have these stacked on the armhole, because this is a 0-0 point when you're trying to figure this kind of thing out. This can't go up and down. It can only be right there, right? It can't go any higher. So you kind of just got to go by where this sits, determines where this is at. And there's actually no difference in the shoulder, which I'm kind of surprised by. So this shoulder seam is probably going to sit kind of far back, and that's probably why it would be a little bit misleading that it doesn't look too short. So let's just measure the entire thing, and we'll assume I'm just putting in we'll just assume there's no hem allowance for now. Okay, so right there, that is my over the shoulder. And then oh, you didn't see what I'm doing, sorry. Let me show you what I'm doing here. Sorry. So this is what I like to do. I like to line it up at the armholes. How come you guys aren't yelling at me because of that? Hello, Nello. Did I get a haircut? No, it's just back. It's very straight right now. It's getting drier. All right, so this is how I determine where this shoulder line is at, right? Because when I just measured the length here to see where it was at, I assumed that this shoulder seam right here on the front is about where most shoulder seams would be. Like on this dress, it's right here, right? They're always a little bit forward. they're not usually exactly one on top of the other, because then the shoulder seam kind of sits at the back. I've actually met one pattern drafter in my life who swears that's where it's supposed to be, and they are absolutely wrong. I was kind of shocked, and I just didn't say anything because they were training me on how to use a software, and I was just like, okay, well, whatever. That's not right. You don't ever put the shoulder seam at the back, especially because in some patterns it makes your center back neck like this big, because you've left no room for manipulation, and you also, it makes the garment want to sit a little bit back because there's extra weight up there, because there's a lot going on right here. You know, you've got slope, you've got the different like circumferences happening here, because you have your neck coming down, you know, so it's getting bigger and smaller, and you have the body doing the same thing. There's a lot going on right here, so you pretty much want that shoulder seam to kind of sit forward, because it will rest on the body a little better and kind of seat there a little better. So it's not that this is wrong that they didn't do it that way. It's one style of doing it. It just means the shoulder seam sitting right up there on top. And then you would probably want to measure hem to hem to figure out where that this garment is going to sit on you. Because in other words, like if you just measure from here to here, you're like, all right, well, where do you put this? Do you put it back here? Do you put it here? Do you put it? You can put it where you want it, but is that actually where the pattern piece is? So this is what determines that. And so the other thing you can do to absolutely determine is to measure the whole of length from hem to hem, right? So now we have this 43.5. And then we can make these, let me hold it. So then we can make this, we make sure now that the tape measure is the same in front and back, and we can kind of see where the length is. And now the other thing you need to think about is, did you measure right here at the high point of the shoulder, like up here? Did you measure out here, or did you measure in the middle? And I kind of measured a little bit towards the neckline of the shoulder, and then that way that's the point I'm going to do it on my body. And so now I'm looking at it, and I just want to make sure that that is the end of this is, you know, the same front and back. And now I know it's kind of hitting me down here. I'm short-waisted a little bit, so no wonder the length isn't too bad on me. So that would be my strategy. If you're trying to figure out how long something is and you're not sure where that shoulder seam is going to be, line it up there and then measure the entire length from hem to hem. It's kind of the same thing you would do if you are trying to figure out if the length of the rise on pants is going to work for you, and you're like, okay, I'm going to measure my favorite pair of jeans, and that'll give me a really good starting point before I cut out these jeans I'm going to sew. So what you can do is measure your favorite jeans, but if you measure the front rise and then you measure the back rise, and then you try and compare that to your jeans sewing pattern, what you'll find is that maybe the front is an inch different and the back is an inch different, but opposite. So you can't tell. You're like, well, wait a minute. Oh my gosh, this sewing pattern is an inch different. But if you were to total the front plus the back and on the pattern and on your measurement, are they the same? Then you're a lot more in the ballpark of where it's at. It just depends on where that, rise seam is going to end at the crotch. So yes, I know that would be kind of a big difference, but it happens a lot. Like the rise seam on pants is all over the place usually. So anyway, I think maybe I'll just add an inch to this because it's not my garment, and I'll just tell them that I added an inch because they were saying something about the length. So, and the other thing is, actually, let's remember, I didn't remove hem allowance. So that would make it a little bit shorter. So, and let's look at it. I'm going to look at it on me. Hey, Barbara. You missed that it was laying horizontally. What does that mean? I completely missed that it was laying horizontally. So on me, don't you love measuring by yourself? So let me see, am I level? So that's about where it sits on me. I think that's where I would want it to finish, and I agree, like if it's a little shorter, it might feel a little short, especially if you're wearing jeans and the waistband was just a little bit higher than that. Anytime you raised your arms, then you're showing skin. Hey Adina, how's it going? I think seeing this pattern sewn up in a drapey fabric is really great, because the fabric in the picture, at first I thought it was a pajama pattern because it matches the pants. It could be a pajama pattern. There's a really popular pajama pattern on like Garnet Hill that looks, it's like a fake wrap. It's sewn at the sides. Oh, you thought the front of the pattern was the shoulder. Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, anyway. All right, so now we have what we're going to do. We're going to add an inch. We'll just add an inch. It's pretty tame, I know. I'm just checking out the pattern pieces here because it has two pieces, a seam going down one of the bodices. Is that too bright for you guys? I guess I still don't understand what you mean. Is it because I had the pattern pieces sideways? Do you have a question about it? Let me know. Oh, yeah, you thought this was the shoulder right here. Yeah, that's the neckline. So yeah, it's sideways. Side seam, armhole, shoulder, neckline, center front, but not quite center front. The center front's not marked on here, but it's somewhere probably around here. All right. The other interesting thing I noticed was how it's graded. And this piece in particular, they didn't nest the pattern piece on the front line or the seam line here. So you have a grade going out. So it is a little bit tricky to find how much it's growing. So you have to do a little bit of math if you need to know that. But what I want to look at is if I want to lengthen this, am I getting into this angle over here? And I think that this lengthens, because see, here's the deal. I'm going to do a video about this actually really soon on the pinnacle top on how to lengthen a garment that has an angle like this, because you don't want to just add it to the bottom when there's an angle like this, because you might change, if this has something sewn to it, you might change that length. It's a little bit tricky, and I have a way to show you how it looks more obvious. So especially if this hem was at an angle, how would you lengthen it? You know, it's kind of tricky. So you got to make, you probably want to like slice it up here, lengthen it, and then redraw that line and start from this point to that point and kind of smooth it out and get rid of whatever is missing, or like add back what's missing and get rid of what's extra, because you can't just add it to the bottom. What you'll do is end up lengthening this line here. If that makes sense. Yeah, it's like a princess seam, but it's not shaped. In fact, we could just look at how much different it is if we want. Oops. Where's the, we need the armhole. I know you probably can't see that, but I'll report back. We want to overlap about an inch. I'm going to just go by the solid line because that's the easiest. So this is how much it sticks out there. But you can see there's no shaping in that seam there. It's basically a seam for your ties, and probably just add like a little bit of interest there. But it's also the underfront, yeah, because the wrap goes on top. All right, so let's see. I looked at the pattern pieces. I'm going to make one slight change. You do not have to do this if you don't want to, but I think it's going to be actually a really nice little touch to the collar. Here's the other funny thing. The sleeve isn't graded in length. Just note that. I think to put the ties, Adina, and I think just honestly just to have a style line. So when you put, you know, because otherwise the ties that are on this piece, the underfront, would be just like tacked to the middle of the garment. And that would be kind of a high point of stress to pull. So I think that that's partly why. They probably tested it out and they were like, you know, maybe it would be better if we put this tie in a seam to give it more stability. And, you know, you could even add the seam that's there onto this piece too. It's not a shape seam. Why is it there? Why do I have to sew extra seam? No. All right, so here's the one little thing I think I'm going to do. You don't have to do this. This is definitely a little bit of extra, but I think it'll be kind of nice. So one thing about this collar is it's in two pieces. So you have this short piece here that goes to a notch at the, probably the center, oh, not the center back. Yeah, to the center back. And then you have this side here. So you have a left collar and a right collar. And one thing I noticed is if you were to sew these together at the seam, you're going to get a point because they're not shaped. So if I overlap this, here, we'll get rid of this paper so you can see better. All right. My removable tape, which is looking pretty ratty. Okay, so you can see that if you overlap at that seam line, you're going to get a point right here at the juncture. So I was thinking that maybe I would just gently round this, add a little bit here to round this and make it a little more of a gentle line. Just as it's just an exercise. It's not wrong, but it will be a little bit nicer. Hey, Kelsey. I actually thought it was a scrub top when I first saw it too. I think you're right. It would be a nice scrub top. And I think that also it's pretty easy to sew, you know. There's a few different ways you could do this neckband. It's interesting. They have you hem the whole neckline and then add the collar. I'm not going to sew it that way. I'm just going to tell you right now. I think that there is probably a nicer looking way, and I think that you can get into a pretty good pickle sewing it that way where the collar will attach at the ends. Yeah, and I think also, Nancy, that's the thing is like the fabric they sent, which is this really beautiful Brussels washer linen in this deep dark purple. Look on my face cam. That light's kind of casting a blue tinge to it, but it is this really nice, really dark. There you go. I guess I have the auto exposure on. Rip. There we go. It calms down a little bit. And this is the, so you can get this on the Heart site. They have this fabric in so many colors. I love this fabric. They send it to us quite often. They send us Brussels washer linen and the, I made my Upton dress in this, in red. It's so nice because it barely wrinkles and you can just wash and wear it if you don't need it to be like absolutely like crisp. It looks really nice. Like, this is not ironed. I washed this and I did not iron it. Yeah, and I actually mistreated it. Like, I threw it in my bag. It was probably still like kind of warm. It looks really nice. Like on the table I can't even see those little wrinkles. The lights pick up every little shadow. And the other fabric I really like that they have a lot of in lots of colors is the viscous linen noil. And that too, it's so drapey. I love linen, Mrs. Necro. So the this fabric here, this is the dark purple 36639. So Brussels washer linen 36639 is the color, dark purple. But you'll probably get sidetracked onto another fantastic color to be honest, because there's so many. All right, and then there's a code right here, 10% off. I don't get anything for that. Don't worry. Like, it's just purely for you guys. It was just nice of them to be like, here's a code for your viewers. So they're really nice there. And they're in California and they ship like that. Like, sometimes I'm like, what the heck do you guys take? Like, sometimes I'll place an order on a Saturday night and I'll see it shipped on Sunday. I'm like, I'll sometimes email and I'll be like, dude, you know, I was waiting. Like, you can send me that in like 2 weeks if you're really too busy. All right, so I'm going to turn down the lighting if it's going to keep doing that. We'll fix it. We'll fix that lighting. Fix it meaning we'll get it to stop doing that. Oh, I do have it on. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna eek. Not sure. Yeah, Nancy, right? I think in a way it does support me because it shows you guys saw it here and then they're seeing. Because I asked once, I asked a long time, like I waited a long time. I was like, so do you ever see anybody buy anything? And they were like, yeah, we do. So that's cool. I know it doesn't work for everybody because a lot of you aren't in the United States, or maybe you're on the East Coast and you want to get something a little faster. So I understand that. Or maybe you're in Canada, you know, so. All right, let me just add this little bit of a gentle, like, curve here. And some extra paper. I love sewing and wearing linen, it's true. I think that while I was growing up, my mom really turned me off of it because she made me a little nervous about the upkeep. But I don't mind ironing, and I do probably iron every day a tiny bit, you know. But you'll see me use some strategies here on the stream to prevent some ironing, like at hems and things like that. You know, and I think cutting your hemlines perfectly on the grain is really helpful for getting like some of those rumpled. Because I hate the rumpled hem, you know. And they're like, it's like perma wrinkles in there. So like sometimes I will fuse interfacing inside the hem if it's a wide one. Yeah, exactly, Mrs. Necro. Yeah, I think sometimes just doing something, if it's distorting the garment, just ironing a little bit here and there. Oh, nice, Adina. That's great. That's great. All right. Is that a little too bright for you guys? So this is how I'm going to figure this out. Let's see if my pencil's dark enough. I was watching Sarah Watts' drawing video today, and I was like, how does she get the lighting where she can do pencil on paper? So I'll zoom in a little bit. Yeah, I don't iron a whole lot. That sagebrush dress that I wear in plaid, I only have to iron the pleated ruffles, which are not even a part of the pattern. So that is the only thing I do, because the little is like most of the pleated ruffle, and there's a lot of them. They're here, they're on my back across the shoulders, and they're all around the hem. Those little things, they'll be laying perfectly flat, like they're pleated, they're not gathered. And then occasionally they'll be like, whoop, like where they got washed. So I just iron those down and that's about it. Even the placket's fine on that thing. Hey, Sydney, how's it going? Okay, so can you see that a little better? A little bright, huh? So what you're going to do, I'm going to cut the large today, I think. And now I'm wondering, Large is, okay, the lines are very similar to each other. Okay, I'm gonna make, it's this one here. So we're gonna overlap it on the seam line. This one has the sizes written on here. That's nice around here. We're not adding to the length or anything. We're just going to make it so that it's a better transition here. So if I put a right angle at this line here, I can choose where I want it to be. I can like raise it up quite a bit, right? If I really want to be able to blend in this line here and get a right angle here at the center back neck like that. So I can do square it out and then I'll just blend it in here. And then you're going to do about the same on this side. So you need to maintain the width of your collar stand, your collar. And you can just measure this amount that you raised the line there if you want. And then same thing, you're going to do a right angle straight out from that line. And then you blend it in. So there's my, oh, this is too bright. It's too bright. Your poor eyeballs. I'm the only one on the face of the earth that likes light mode. Don't hate me. If I take screenshots and I post them in like a Discord, people are like, ew, light mode. Like, okay, thanks for shaming me. Hello, Rebecca. Sorry I missed your hello. Welcome. If that is your last name, that is a most fantastic last name. And I'm jealous. Especially growing up with the maiden name of Graves. Okay, so here is your line here, and you can do this from the edge, the cut edge. You don't have to do it from the seam line. Doesn't matter. What we're looking for is a right angle once it gets to the center back seam here. And so I chose to be a little bit aggressive, and I came up a little bit over 1/4 of an inch here, and I had to raise this line the same amount that I did here. Like that. I squared out, and then I'm just going to blend the line from here to here really gently, and it'll just make that seam at the back of your neck do this nice smooth transition like it's not even there, rather than a point like this. It also makes it that the length of that seam won't decrease, because what happens is when you go to sew a seam at the neckline right here, what happens is you'll compensate to make that a smooth transition, because you don't sew your neckline like this. The neck is a curve on the pattern piece, right? So when you go to do it, what you'll do is you'll compensate, you'll turn under the edge and kind of smooth it out anyway, and then you lose some of the height and it pulls funny. You are. Love it. So I'm going to do the same thing on this side here. This one is the opposite. Oh no, it's not the opposite. Ignore what I just said. I'm already thinking it's fixed, and then I was trying to undo it. So let's see. I did a little bit over 1/4 of an inch. But see, here's the deal. This one right here. Yeah, the right angle. Ooh, I feel like you could be pretty aggressive on this one, so it's really tricky. So if I raise it up the same amount, it doesn't matter how much you raise it up, honestly. You don't have to do the same amount on this one as you do on this one. You just have to do the same amount on the top edge as the neck edge. Because look at this right here. If I put my ruler at a right angle to the center back here, look at how quickly the ruler ends up into the collar. Right here. Look right here. You see that? It's already angling into the collar, only about 1.5 inches in or less. So what we need to do is we need a nice smooth transition. So look at the line of my ruler. Watch this line right here. We kind of want it to be more like that, right? We want it to be more of a gentle line there. But look, I put it off, it's off of the right angle now at the center back. I'm still at my same problem with having a point. So that means you're raising it quite a bit to get your line all the way to here. I hope this makes sense. You can choose if you want to be that kind of aggressive, but basically then you're adding a curve to your neckline. And what you don't want to do by accident is add to the pattern length by adding that curve, because then it might not fit between the notches. So yeah, so I'm just going to keep it about that amount, and I'm going to try and aggressively shape it in this small amount of space. I sound like it's really that aggressive. It's no big deal. But here now we have this, you know, center back line there. It's not that hard to blend it in. I'm going to write these with a red line now so you can see the difference of what I did. Because I know my pencil, I don't usually use pencil on camera because it's so hard to see, but I kind of wanted to be a little bit precise on this. So I'm kind of a stickler. I can let a lot of little things go, but I do really like right angles when it comes to junctures. You're going to make it a right angle when you're sewing it anyway. So this is my new collar. And you see now I have kind of a smooth transition, and I still have that, I have a right angle at my center back seam over here. All right, and then if you want, you can double check and make sure you didn't increase the length of that seam by accident. So let's bring this down a little bit there. Funny things happen when you start getting into these angles and stuff. You got to be careful. All right, we're ready to cut. Yeah, that's true, Libby. Though, especially because this pattern isn't on the fold. So you're going to cut 2 and cut 2. So you have 4 collar pieces. And if you do that, you would have that stabilizing edge with a seam. And I think that that's the perfect time to put something on the bias. Hey, Eliza. So, and I gave this example on this shirt here. This is the seamwork bow top. And so I wanted to be clever and put my sleeve bands on the bias because of the nature of the print. And I also, you know, did bias trim here, and I was really strategic on how I cut the neckline and how those little lines lined up. But here's the problem, and I interfaced it to stabilize it, knowing that being on the bias would probably add to some issues. But what I should have done was put this edge here on a seam, like cut it into 2 pieces. Because what happens is, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but it flares. See that? There you go, you can really see it. So this edge here has grown longer than where I attached it to. So if there had been a seam here, it would have stabilized it and it would have been so much nicer. Hi, Summer, how's it going? That's awesome. Yay. And I think, Libby, you could do this on a lightweight fabric too. Like if you had a fun print like this, like putting that collar on the bias would be really fun. All right, let's cut. Oh, I want to show, we've been talking a lot about presser feet, me and a handful of people, especially in the Facebook group. And I wanted to show you guys, okay, so they were showing me all these compensating feet. Like Terry has these really cool compensating feet, which means like, say you're sewing thicknesses and your presser foot, it's like, you know, like this is all your fabric, but your presser foot's hanging off on this thickness here of the fabric. How do I display that? So your presser foot's here and the other half is hanging off in this abyss, right? You can put a foot and then your presser foot is happier, right? Your machine's going to sew a little bit more even. And this is what I have. This came with my home machine and these work pretty good. I don't have a compensating foot for my home machine, but this I can use on any machine. And it's just these slide away plastic things. So if you have this, that's what it's for. And it is pretty handy. It's just that you have to hold it in place, right? The foot makes it a little easier. So the other thing I want to show you guys, and I'm a little embarrassed to admit this, but I got all these feet for my baby lock and I've never used them. And I hoped that there was going to be a bias attachment for knits to a neckline so that rolled on one side and not rolled on the other. And it's not in there, so I just never even gave it a second thought. But there's some really cool feet in here. There's a shearing foot, which I don't really care about. There's a beading foot, a piping and cording foot, which I thought was interesting. But there's a blind hem foot and an elastic foot. So you can put elastic in there. So that's kind of cool. And they're like brand new. Now I really want to like get them out and do it. And now I'm sitting here trying to decide on a new machine. Oh, the size range. Thank you, Eliza. I usually always mention that. Bonus feet package. $300 value. They gave this to me for free. Was it really a $300 value? It probably was, honestly. Like, each of those feet's probably $35, $50. Okay, the size range of this top, it's okay. It's not great. So, it's actually, I hate to say this, but it's really kind of limited. I'm going to be making the large. So, the small, the bust goes down to a 33 inch, and the hips a 37 inch. That's probably not even that small. And then the extra large, it goes up to an extra large, and it's a 44 inch bust and a 48 inch hip. But I'm going to start having some videos on how to grade things. And I know that grading something up into your size isn't quite as accurate unless it's kind of close to your size. And at least grading between sizes. So hopefully I can kind of help you guys out occasionally when you have that one pattern. You're like, oh, I'm only one size under. You know what I mean? So... No, Sydney, did you just get a new machine too? I haven't seen that yet. And why are you going to be cutting your... I missed it, why? Okay. Let me put my tools away here. And in other news... I'm going to be taking I think it's a week off in May for my birthday because we're going to go on a little trip to a town where my daughter wants to move to, and we're checking it out for her, like helping her check it out. So when my husband asked what I want to do for my birthday, for the first time in my life, I said, well, I kind of want to go on a little trip. And he was like, I was like, I just want to go and check out that little town. And I was like, oh, that's a great idea. We should do it because we've been wanting to do it all spring. Oh, because presser feet are expensive. Well, I would argue, though, that hand sewing buttonholes, even one time, would pay for a buttonhole foot. And a buttonhole foot, honestly, is just, on a home machine, is just grooves along the bottom so that the the sides of the buttonhole kind of glide underneath. Hey, Brig, welcome. Oh, it's new to you. Neat. That's exciting. Ooh, it's like a little treasure hunt then. All right, let's decrease the zoom. Did you guys notice if that jingle at the beginning was a little bit louder? Because someone said it was kind of low. And so while it was in them playing it, I took the risk and raised it up a little. Was it too loud at all? This fabric's really wide as well. You can tell, like my table is, I think 30 inches. Let's see here. So yeah, it's about 53 inches, 54 inches wide. Isn't that nice? Well, that's good then, Mrs. Necro. And you probably don't have to worry about them either. Now, okay, Mrs. Necro, I have a question for you then. If you hand sew your buttonholes, so I'm sure you've witnessed in the sewing community that is one of the stumbling blocks that kind of halts sewists in a project where they're like, well, it's all done except for buttons and buttonholes. And then they may wait a week to a year. Oh, there's someone here and their alarm's going off. I was like, there's an alarm. So they will, and I've definitely done that before too. Sometimes I do it now because I'm just like, ugh, I gotta get the home machine out and I wait. But then I like, oh, gotta take a picture, so I do it. So do you wait? Are you less nervous about doing it because you're like, oh, it's hand sewn. I can control it because it's slower. I can control exactly what I'm doing. So I'm kind of curious. Try and convert us. Oh man, I hate the lighting on these dark fabrics. All right, so actually I'm gonna cut off the other side so I don't get confused because of how this is graded. I'm having trouble on some spots noticing here. So this is the one, yeah, right here. Okay. I very frequently just cut my size out. I was not at all thinking of you, Sydney, when I said that. I wasn't, I promise. Now I will be. And now I want you to send it to me so I can do it for you so it's done because I hate unfinished projects. Okay, I'm just going to cut off my sizes on all these pieces real quick. Or cut off the size I'm not cutting. Especially these lines are pretty similar. I think that'll help. You're not live on camera trying to pay attention to chat, the lighting, if you're not going to cut yourself on live camera. I do, Brig. There are people here that don't, though. I think that's just up to you. I do have more than one cutter, but I go through so many blades that if I were to have to keep track, I don't know. I don't think it would make too much of a difference for me. I think it's a good idea if you can have separate cutters for your paper and your fabric. I also am not cutting off all the paper right now, so there's still a little bit of paper past the size line I'm cutting out. So my blade is going to be going through both when I cut out my project. Armholes are always so confusing, aren't they? This is the one I want. Sometimes I use a highlighter, but my highlighter is getting a little bit dry, and the other ones I have are like a crayon tip, and I think that stuff would definitely be forever. See, now this is where I was saying, so you see the grade, there's the small, large, large. So my large is actually coming into the pattern. That's kind of odd and kind of distracting. Let's see. This is the one I want right here. I'll bet they do this so that you can tell where your notches are a little easier, which I appreciate that. Oh, it just needs the buttons, Corey. That's my excuse. I'm staying. Oh, yeah, Mrs. Necro. Ooh, Sydney, you'd have like a whole new wardrobe if you did that. Isn't that motivating? Your jumpsuit looked really cute, by the way. I saw it in your stories. It wasn't horrific at all. I finally finished the buttons on that 1940s dress because I kept removing them and repositioning them. And I did it during the Patreon thing, which was kind of nice. Oh, shoot, Elena. That's a bummer. Alright, the back has a center back seam. Note. So you need 2. And you don't have to cut it on the fold. I love it when I don't have to cut something on the fold. I know that sounds probably funny, but it's just true. I just really like it when I don't have to cut something on the fold. But let's get this better on grain. I can tell it's not on grain because the selvages are crooked from one another. Sorry, it's really dark. So we're going to get it on grain. Ooh, look at that cutting, Hearts. I see you. Hearts, did you cut this just for me? They know my pet peeve is when, look at that. You guys are awesome. All right. They cut on grain there. Let's just throw a bunch of pattern pieces on here and see where we're at. I want to add an inch in length. I'm really hoping I don't forget to do that. If I forget on one pattern piece, I'll have to trim it off. So I'm just going to put a little star at the beginning and the end of each of these spots. Hopefully that'll jog my memory. But let me show you how to lengthen this angle. Sorry, I know. Trust me, when we start cutting, it goes really fast and then it's over. So let me show you how I'm going to lengthen this. I need a better piece of paper though. Here we go. If you have a top with an angle like this, you can't just add to the bottom, and I'll show you why. Hello, Val. Ooh, a snowy, gosh, I can't believe all the late spring snow people are getting right now. We're getting like a little bit of a, I'm just realizing that maybe I could have pieced this a little better. Like a little, maybe a little moisture this week or weekend, but it just won't be enough. We're already in a drought. So very much a shame. All right, we're gonna tape this on here. Yeah, I like sewing buttons on with a machine too. If I don't need space behind the button, you know. I think that I will admit, because I do it a lot, because I'm not a big hand sewer, especially if the button has 4 holes, I just curse myself for not even noticing that. I will pick buttons out so that they don't have 4 holes. And I do think sometimes it can be a little fussy because I like to hand tie all the ends and I'll pull them to the back. I even have this in my highlights on Instagram and stories. I spent a lot of time on that little highlight because I was sitting there doing that for forever, sewing those buttons on for that dress. It's snowing there too, Rebecca. Oh my gosh. Dang. Okay. Get rid of this. All right, so we want to add an inch, okay? So let's just add the inch down here so you can see it. So now if I just did this, drew this line like this, continued it, what would happen is this length right here has now changed. So, you know, if I measured it right here where it was originally, 16 inches, that's where it's supposed to end, right here. That's quite a bit. So if you were sewing this, like say this is a dress, like a bodice of a dress, and it's a wrap dress. That is a perfect example, because on a wrap dress, I feel like with wrap dresses, a lot of busty women really want to wear a wrap dress because we feel like, oh, there's room for my bust. But the problem with wrap dresses, and I'm always extremely leery of them, is that you get a very deep V, or they pop open, and I think I'm not speaking for all busty women, but for me, I was very, very busty growing up, and I've had a breast reduction, so I was extremely self-conscious of it. So I didn't want any possibility of showing cleavage, and I'm still like that to this day. Like even wearing this dress, this is the first Charlie Kaftan I've made, and it's a little low, and I like tie it so that, you know, I feel a little more secure, or I'll wear tank tops or camisoles underneath my things. And it's not that I'm modest, it's just I'm still self-conscious over it. It's kind of that thing that's ingrained in me. So say you want to do a wrap dress and it has a waist seam and maybe even a midriff, kind of like the Alcott or plenty of other wrap dresses, but you are busty and you need to lengthen the bodice. You can't just lengthen it and then it's still sew to that bottom seam, unless you remember that you need to overlap that extra. But what if this extra goes into a princess seam or a side seam? Then you're kind of like, oh shoot, what did I do, right? So what you need to do, and this is why a lot of times you'll see like a lengthen and shorten line way up here, right? You cut it, you add your length, and that's what I would recommend doing. And then you blend in this line. So that's what we're going to do, right? So let's make a line that is perpendicular to this grain line here. And there's notches on this side over here. So maybe you would want to do it below the notches, because those notches are actually the tie placements. So you need to remember that, right? So if you want to leave the tie placements right where they're at, then you would want to do this lengthen and shorten line below that, or just remember maybe to place those tie placements before you sew it in, like kind of figure out where you want it, right? So, all right, so we'll add our line there. Let's get rid of this down here now, because we're going to do this a different way. So we're going to cut this apart here. We're going to add our inch in the middle. We have our grain line right here to kind of line this back up. Oh wait, let's draw our inch. So let's draw our inch here. And I will admit, like a lot of times when I'm lengthening, shortening, I never use the lengthen and shorten line, because it's more work, because you have to cut it apart and add all this. I just add it to the bottom, but on these angles, I will do that and then I regret it, and then it takes me longer. Like I've saved myself no time, because now I have to fix what I did, and then I'm second guessing all the changes I just made, and then I want to go back to ground zero, you know, and kind of start over again. I'm sure many of you are nodding your head, because it's like anytime you're doing something and you just go too far, and then you're like, shoot, I wish I could have like had a copy of that, you know. And this is a printed pattern, so I don't have a copy. All right, so now look at my line here. See how it's changed so much? If you guys can see that, there's a big jog now between those lines. So I'll show you with a marker here. This is the small. Oops, I got that a little off. See how those just don't line up now at all? like trying to get my ruler on there, it just doesn't want to go. I gotta get rid of this thing. See that? So what you're gonna do is, I need a longer ruler. You're gonna try and blend this in along this whole front edge here, and try and get it to be at 0 at the bottom and at the top. I mean, it doesn't go out, so now you've blended it in like that. And that's my new line. And so it probably looks like you've just gained some width here. but you didn't. Look, it's the same at the bottom. All right. Does that make sense? All right. Ah, so true, Adina. Oh, cool, Mrs. Necro. No, well, I mean, in my opinion, slash and spread is when you slash up to a point and you only spread one end. But this is parallel. It just depends, Brig. I think that it just depends. What was an Auburn Southeast Stat? What did I miss? What's the stat face for? Something happened. A 50-acre wildfire, yeah. That's not too bad, at least. I mean, not too big. I mean, not bad, but big. Yeah, we're already like lending out our firefighters to areas. Yeah, Mrs. Necro. Yeah, I'm a little nervous about this season. Yeah, so Brig, if you want, it doesn't mean you have a longer torso. Just because you're lengthening it doesn't mean you have a longer torso. It means that you want the top to be overall longer. So most likely you might want those ties in the exact same place because you don't really want there to be a gap. Not a gap. You don't want it to gape. I knew that I was close. Between where those ties are attached. So you know how like I just was looking at this at something and it was really amazing how just a ½ inch moving it made the garment lay so much better. It might have been that Decades of Style dress and putting the button on because, you know, having those points of contact there, that's a high stress area maybe, or maybe it's just like having it a certain amount apart might make it lay smooth between. That's what I want to say. All right, now we can cut it. And now let's just hope I don't forget to add that inch to everything else. Right. Okay. Okay. Let's get rid of these little whoop-de-doos here. And I wish I could. What can I put there? Any chance I can fit you here? Ooh. I like. Okay. I frequently don't use cutting layouts and I apologize. I just don't. I don't know. I just don't. It's funny because when I first started making my patterns, the person in charge of my testing was like, where are the cutting layouts? And I was like, people don't need those. And she's like, no, they absolutely need those. I was like, oh, I am so sorry, you know, my bad. That can go there. I should not have presumed. So cut 4 of the ties. We can put that anywhere. Cut 2 self, and the grain line goes this way. Maybe we can even get it right here. And where's our other little collar? Did I lose it? No. Here it is. Yep. I don't think that's gonna be, that works so good. That works so good, but, you know, I moved my camera thing, this, all to the right side because I felt like this was where we'd be working. And boy, was I wrong, huh? Sorry. I should know better. I go right to left. Let's see here. If we have this here. I just know I have to fit this here and I don't want all that waste. I think what I have to do is put one of these upside down. So if you're using fabric with a print, you might want to make sure you have enough So that'll work just fine, just like that. All right. Let's pull this over here. Yeah, it's like all over here and I'm off the camera. I could fix that. But the funny thing is, if I fix it, it's going to do the opposite. Let's see. Yeah, I'll be off the camera that way. Well, snap. I really hate it when I don't get this lined up well. Does that help? Yeah, I think cutting layouts are really helpful for people, and sometimes I will refer to them when I'm like, wait a minute, is there really only cut 2 of this or something like that? And then I'm like, oh, I missed that's in lining, you know? So I think they're extremely helpful. I think it's also a really great tool for the person creating the pattern as a double check, you know? All right. And you never know, the cutting layout could be better. I've definitely come across that where I was like, ooh, I should have used the cutting layout, you know? I don't doubt their abilities. I just don't use them. I just don't. I haven't used one in years. What's the fabric is a Brussels washer linen that Hearts Fabric sent to us in deep purple or dark purple? Dark purple, 36639. Oh, right, Mrs. Necro, exactly. You know, a lot of fires, Mrs. Necro, just started by traffic accidents. All right, let's do it. I'm lengthening this. I'm lengthening this. I'm lengthening this. I have a feeling I'm going to forget to lengthen it on one pattern piece, you know? This one's lengthened. And I want this line right here. Following my blue line. I have to say things out loud sometimes so I remember. Yeah, Nancy, right? I'm sure that they had some regrets on that too. Yeah, that really impacted us. That was a bad one. So if I want to keep this tie where it originally was, I need to move up the notch about 1 inch. So we'll do that. I got all my notches on here, so I'm just going to put the pattern piece away. I think I am kind of filling in this paper here, so let's tape this down better. I usually always tape it from the back too, just to kind of make sure that I get it nice and smooth. That does not look like a front, does it? That's the front without the pattern piece on there. That's the shoulder seam up there. Pretty cool. Very fun. So I put on my community tab yesterday, or maybe it was the day before. I was like, you know, what do you guys think about doing a challenge where you guys come up with a pattern and I don't get to look at the directions, you know? And this would have been a good one because I actually had to look at all of the directions because I wasn't quite sure how the neckband was going on there without a facing. Yeah, so hi Ursula, how's it going? Oh wow, Mrs. Necro. Explosive targets? That's video game stuff, man. Come on. What the heck? That would not happen in California. Even knuckleheads wouldn't do that. There are arsons. That's different. Those people are just sick. You know, like there's something wrong. But that kind of behavior, that wouldn't happen anymore here. No way. Because they would be bummed too if they had to live in a world with smoke. You know, like the smoke thing is bad. It is really bad. So yeah, I was, this would have been a really good one to do. I would have been a little bit like, oh, no problem. And then when I went to do it, I was been like, wait a minute. Because I couldn't figure out why there wasn't an extension on the neckline to attach the collar. And I had to read through all the instructions a few times to kind of find what was happening there and why. And so I'm sure it would have prevailed, but I would have been like, oh, you guys picked a good one. And then did you see Nancy because Nancy had a good suggestion for the letter low system. I guess I didn't realize those came with patterns you draft, and I didn't realize you didn't get sewing instructions, so that'd be good. Yeah, right, Adina? So true. Yep. Okay, I'd really like my other narrow. Wait for this. Actually, what I'll do is I'll use you up here. When I'm cutting my pieces kind of all really close like this, I gotta be careful I don't get overzealous, because that's kind of my style, to go straight off the fabric like that, and then I go right into where I want to sew this, or cut this, I mean. So it's smarter for me if I just do this. I take, oh, but you know what I just did? I removed any hope of determining the grain line. Let's see. So let's get this grain line on here, parallel, and then I'll pull it away. I just need 2 of these. Okay, good. And see, just doing that, I may have removed enough room to put this piece there. It's always drama around here. No, it's not. I had a friend call me drama the other day. Not friend like a real friend, but an online friend. That sounded terrible. I mean someone who actually doesn't know me. They just know me in a very particular setting. I was like, really? I don't think so. Everyone else was like, no. I was like, the first thing I do is I'm like, bye, if there's drama. Okay. Sort out my paper trash. I keep my fabric scraps in a bin so I can make more dog beds. All right, now cutting this, I just realized, oh, I did it. Oh. Yeah, too late, Barbara. Shoot, I knew I'd do that. See, I cut it off. Womp, womp. Well, that's a bummer. I should have lengthened it. I know better than to trust myself for something like that. I know better. I just go for it, you know? All right, well, it's going to be the length that it came as. Can I get this here? Probably not. Okay, we'll get that somewhere else. Yep, Claire, you're right. I did. These 2 pieces, I could save it, but oh, yeah, what a bummer. I knew that would happen, didn't I? Hey, Ray, I do need a shout button. See, if we were on Twitch, you could yell at me. Yeah, exactly, Libby. I know. It's just kind of a bummer that I couldn't have followed through on that, though, you know? New line, new line, new line. That's so weird to have it pinned while I did that, but it was kind of nice. Been a while. Well, I did make sure this time, Adina, because I could tell when you have a wrap front top, it actually, when you have a wrap front top, oh, and you know what? Oh, I'm really sorry. We only need one, right? We only need one front on each side. Right, Barbara? I do. There's still a delay. Well, it's okay, Claire, because the first one I cut out was longer, but yeah. Oh, that's a bummer, Sydney. All right, so you need 2 of this, and it's not on the fold. But on your fronts, you only need 1 of each. 1. So I could have cut this, and I might still be able to. I don't think so. No, this is narrower. So, yeah. So actually, I could probably still cut out that front again. Ha-ha. Because you only need 1. So if I could get the good argument for using the cutting layout. Yeah, look at that. So I could get both of these fronts out of this piece, and this one would be an inch longer. Never happened. I don't need this one here. So I'm going to put that over there and maybe use it for ties. All right, and then we're going to cut this guy. Can we get him an inch down? Yeah, probably. All right. Sorry. This is why you watch me, because then you can go, oh, now I remember, don't make that mistake. Because when you're cutting it, you're going to remember, oh, she did that. I've already checked, and it's really hard to determine if there's a right or wrong side of this particular fabric. But now would be the time that you want to make sure you have your left and your right, the space there. Let me get my chalk. I think that's the only thing that'll show up on this purple fabric. Go away, Ray. I mean, I thought of it. I won't lie. I did think, like, could I just make a little band for like 1 inch? You know, plus a hem. I need a hem. Really, I could have, and it could have just been the hem, and there would just be a seam on that one piece. You know? All right, let's get this corner cut while we're thinking of it. So I noticed that what I was about to say earlier is that there's not a right angle here at the armhole, but it's pretty gentle, and I think that the part that's not at a right angle happens inside the seam allowance, so I'm gonna let it go. A little far away to guess if I'm doing a straight line there. I'm making a good argument for using that cutting layout, aren't I? All right, where's mine? Yeah, Nancy, that's smart. That's smart. I do that too. I used to just put a pin or a post-it type of little thing. Okay. This one here. And we can cut. I guess I can finally cut it. I'm so paranoid that I don't want to cut off my my hem here. Are you taking off, Mr. Necro? Oh, okay, you have work meeting. Go for it. All right, let's recut that one piece. I don't need to recut this. What do I need to recut? This isn't the one I need to recut. What do I need to recut? I need to recut this one. This is the one, right? This is the only one I have to recut, right? Really? That's it? That's it? That's no big deal. That's no big deal. We got that. I've got this piece. I've got this piece. I need the back. I've got the right front. I just did that one, right? Oh yeah, that wasn't even a mistake. That was just a warm-up. These pattern pieces are confusing me a tiny bit. Sleeves. This piece goes. So what I did wrong was I cut two of that one front, but that's no big deal, right? I could even cut from that piece, maybe. Let's see, can I? I doubt it, actually. If I were desperate, you know, like, let's see, would I have been able to fix it? Maybe. Actually, look at that. Oh yeah, look at that. I can actually get that piece. So this is the one I forgot to lengthen, the 1 inch, which is this piece right here. And see, look. And I accidentally cut two of this piece here. So I could get myself back on track. All right, and we still have two of that. Perfect. Yeah, right, yeah. I did do that, Sydney, but thanks. Yeah, I marked it right there. I marked it at each end just in case I came at it from this side or that side. Usually, Beverly, I keep notes in my pattern. You know? I mean, personally, for me, it's not a big deal because how do I put this? I think because I'm probably, yes, I'm cutting and sewing it with you guys, and there's a lot that, you know, like we can all forget when we cut and sew something, certain details we've done, right? You're so smart in saying, yeah, how do you remember for next time? Because there's definitely times I've gotten back to a project, I'm like, oh yeah, that's what I did do it. But I think also what reiterates it is that I'm talking about it over and over and over again to you guys. It's okay, Sydney. I know I can be snarky with you. Look at that. The extra inch is built in. Back on track. Yep. Alright, so right now I have the collar. the ties and the back. If anything, that was just a good lesson in how to kind of fix it, you know? Because I've definitely made plenty of cutting mistakes and gone, ruh-roh, what am I going to do now? That didn't feel too sewing fairy-ish, you know? Like it felt like I preordained it almost, you know? All right, so on this one, we need to add the inch, and I'm trying to leave myself the nicest possible piece left over because I like to do that. We need to add the inch. We need to add the inch. So let's make sure my selvage is parallel to this fold here. Wrinkles can make it look like it's crooked. This piece isn't on the fold, I just need 2 layers. And I have this cutaway piece underneath that I have to be under. Like this. I don't even measure, I just put my finger on the the ruler. All right, we're in the woods. We're out of the woods now. Wait, that's the expression, right? Good point, Beverly. But notes, I usually do. You guys don't see it, but like at the end of this part 2 sewing stream, and I'm putting away everything or whenever it is that I go to put the pattern away, I usually have a little note inside that says what I did. And I even pin it to the pattern with a straight pin. I'm pretty organized. I may go all over the place and kind of change direction pretty often, but I'm in it because I do that. I am really organized because I know that. I already cut that. Cool. It was so lined up, I couldn't even tell I cut it. See, so this side seam here, the armhole, I'm going to exaggerate the ruler. It goes like this at the end here. So if it were a right angle, I would just cut this little extra off like this. And you might as well, because you're going to cut it off when you sew it anyway. It's unnecessary. And it'll make your sewing a little easier, and you'll also not wonder, did I need to include that? Because you can't really include it. I feel like this isn't at a right angle either, but let's check. I think that there's a little bit of gentle shaping at the center back, and oof, I love that. I love when there's no darts in the back, but they put it along the center back. I love that. That's actually my favorite type of back shaping on something really simple. I don't really need these notches, but we'll put them there. I think for me, like the way my body is shaped, that is the better spot. Okay. So we just need our ties and our other neckband. I kind of clean up my fabric before I put it away. I manage a lot of fabric around here, you know? Like the brand cutting mat. Oh, it's oh, you can't see that, but it's a rhino mat. Oh, it's okay to ask questions twice because it's hard for me sometimes to keep up with chat, especially when all those folks start going on about their great Aunt Tessie. That's kind of an inside joke that you'll get eventually. Yes, exactly, Rebecca. Thank you for telling her that. And it's not like I think you can get whatever you want, but the reason I have this particular one is because the place I bought it at cut it to size. Yep, see, Ray will tell you that's good. Yeah, it's totally good. Yeah, so when you're in design school, when I was in design school, one of the projects we did was a molded back. Fold. And I love that kind of shaping back there. And it's so like if I showed you, like a Dior would be a perfect example from like back, like when he was first starting. It would have that really just sculpted back of the garment, not princess seams, and it would be like a center back seam. So nice. All right, this is probably stretching it, that I'm going to get that out of there. Had to try. Yeah, so I can't remember where I got it, Brig, because it's been a few years, but I searched for mats that custom self-healing rotary cutting mats for sewing, something like that. Like I put all that in there, and this company came up, and so I had this custom made for the one of these tables here, and I have now two of the tables next to each other, and it's fine because at first I was like, oh no, it's not covering the whole table when I moved into this space, but it doesn't matter because I can't get to the ends here. I have bins with my works in progress there on the end that you can see over there. I have my bins stacked up and waiting, and then here I just have my like keyboard, and so this is pretty much all I can use on camera, so it doesn't matter. Because before, what I would use was just these huge 4x8 sheets of basically PVC plastic that's almost identical to this. It pretty much is identical to this, honestly. And we could get that locally. Before there were mats that fit your table, you could just go, like there's this place called Humboldt Plastics, and they probably made things for, manufacturers and things like that, and it was a small town. And my friend just said, hey, they have these 4x8 sheets. Let's go check it out. And he got me one, and because he had gotten one. And is it like a Olfa mat? No, it doesn't stay perfectly smooth when you cut it, but it's not fun. It's fine. It doesn't snag my fabric or anything. If I were doing chiffon and those kinds of fabrics that kind of get into the grooves of the mat, I think that would be kind of a challenge. You can get those big Olfa mats. They can get really expensive though. So those, when I would buy them locally, it was $80 for a 4-foot by 8-foot sheet, because that's my size of my tables. It worked great. In fact, I still have every single one of them I've bought. And anytime I have like a new sewist in my life, or someone who's like, I just got a dedicated table and it's big, and I'm like, do you want one on my mat? I give them my old cutting mat, so at least they have something until they find out what they want. Because they're just sitting on, I just layer them up. When they finally get old, I just put the next one on top. All right, so I need 4 of these, and I need 2 of these. So we'll go with this end here. There's no grain line on this. That's a fold line there, and they're ties. So I actually think you could do cross grain if you want to save some fabric. It's a tie. It's not a length. It's not grain line dependent. So maybe if you had a fun stripe on your top going this way and you want the stripes of the ties to line up, you could totally do that. I think that'd be cute. Yeah, I love a garment with back shaping. My back needs it. Not everybody's does, That's just one of my fit issues. And often I add it to whatever I'm making. Like when I make the Scout tee, mine has darts on the back. I know it doesn't come that way, but it fits me better. And it's not so that I have a close fit. Like I think a lot of people think darts are only so that something fits you really close. For me, it's so that the fabric doesn't pool at my back down there. Because it does. It's like my butt's a shelf and the fabric just sits there. But it's not that. It's more that my shoulder blades are sticking out. And I'm not sway backed either. I've talked to a chiropractor. So I think it's just one of those funny things for me. It is my fitting journey. You know? Let's see, can I get 4 of these on here? This is my least favorite kind of pattern pieces to cut are the long, narrow pieces. Because I feel like that's the perfect one to get off. You don't have as much room to kind of fudge it, you know? Especially when you're doing 4 layers. You're doing it under camera. It's kind of hard to cut it as accurately as you would. All right. We got it all. Let's just pin this so I don't lose these pieces. Clean up the fabric before we put it away. Look at that. It was the perfect amount that they sent. I know they always worry about that. Ah, Ray, thank you. Oh, I might have alerts off. I've been recording stuff. Here we go. Thanks, Ray. It is nice to see folks. All right, let's lay it all out. Let's see if I made any other errors. Let's get that out of the way. All right, so we have our back. We needed 2 of those. Check. We have our side front. We have a collar up there we'll place in a second. We have a sleeve. Yay, your kitty! Collar. Ties. I'm about to have a panic attack because I can't find the front. Here's this front. Where's my front? Did I lose it? We had 2 of them. We should have 1. What the heck? Is this it? Oh my gosh, it's on the ground. I'm sorry. To apologize to it. I had a little bit of a, panicky moment there because I was like, yeah, I don't have any fabric to come back from that one. All right. A little dark, sorry. So we have that. That's how it goes. This is kind of helpful to do this sometimes, don't you think? And then we have this piece here. That is under the wrap. We have our collar. And our collar. Oops. Libio. What do you mean? How did they... See, I don't get that. Why they would put anything on the outside of that bounding box. Because I just clip the corners off and then tape it. Litter box free. This is the... this pattern and project were supplied to us by Hearts. I have to get the fabric information out. So it is the Brussels washer linen, which I absolutely love this fabric. I've used it a lot, and I like the project that immediately comes to mind is my Upton dress in red that I think I made 2 years ago or last year. Did I make that last year? I don't know. It's fantastic, and it doesn't hardly wrinkle because it's a linen cotton mixture, and that really helps that part of it. So you don't have to iron it. And then this is the dark purple, number 36639. And then there's a little discount code right here. So, yeah, I love this stuff. Well, Libby, you know what? I kind of think that you're just going to have to play. It's like a puzzle. The pieces will kind of go together. So if you kept your pages in order, hopefully you can just go across. Because what I do is I do like 2 rows, and when I start seeing like trends, I start just cutting them apart so that, and then I'm just working on those, you know. Adina, right? I know, me too. I was trying not to panic. I was like, wow, did I really just lose that piece? Okay, so there we go. 2 years ago. Dang, has it really been 2 years? That's crazy. I feel like we were barely doing anything then. Yeah, because it was Me Made May, and I did dresses all month long. So, so speaking of May, it is my birthday in May, and I know Me Made May is a really big deal, but I will be taking about a week off around my birthday, like the 12th to the 19th. I'll probably stream that weekend, I think. We'll see. You'd print it printing again? No, don't print it again. Just look at the schematic. See if you can do it. Oh, good. Is it that one that just came out from Sew House 7? That was kind of cool. She had a free new pattern. So I will do some fabric shopping. Someone left a really good tip on the on that Yanta Overalls video on fabric shops in Oregon, and it was the Mill Inn store. Is that still there? I hope that's still there because that's a good tip. I've always wanted to go there too. So I'll be in Oregon, and I'll probably go for a day in Portland. I think there's places in Eugene and Beaverton. So I'm going to kind of... what I love is that this is my birthday trip, so I can... If I say I want to drive somewhere, they're going to be like, okay. They would say that anyway, but I won't feel as guilty because I know they're going to be like, no, we want to do whatever we want to do. So... but I'm going to have a few video uploads for you guys that week. You'll see me for next week for the Dawn jeans. I'm going to sew up a muslin of my Dawn jeans on Friday, and I'm going to fit them this Saturday. Tomorrow, I'm going to sew this together. There's no seam finishing in the pattern instructions, and there's only 1/2-inch seams. So I'm kind of like, what do you guys think? Overlock or French seams? What do you guys want? The Mill Inn store. Thank you, Sydney. So it's still there? Okay, good. Now you're like, oh, yes, I do know a fabric store you could go to. I'm putting my hair behind my ear because the side of my glasses are hurting me so much. The Clackamas one. Okay, thank you. Nice, Adina. But that's like sewing napkins. Like, that is so essential. It's close to the Pendleton outfit. Okay. Nice. All right, good. I'm kind of like, do I want to go downtown Portland to Josephine Dry Goods? Because I love that store. I haven't been in years and years. I'm going to try and focus only on stores that have garment fabrics. Because I'll go to the ones that everyone's so enamored of and I love too. And then I'm like, it's just quilting cotton in here. It's all so tempting and cute, but I don't need it. Yeah, Brig, you think so? Yeah, I think so. Really? Almost. There was almost too much fabric. Oh, you mean almost like free? Oh, yeah, I can see that. Yeah. You think the FBA would be a nightmare? Interesting. How come you guys never asked me to do stuff like that? I mean, I've done an FBA for you guys, but doing it on, how would I... Yeah, I mean, like, I haven't even held this up to my dress form. We could hold it up and check it out. Let me get a picture of it like this first, because I like these kinds of pictures for the next thumbnail. Oh, there's all kinds of stuff on my phone. Yikes. I think maybe what I'll do is this. Wait, this is how it goes, right? I may be laying this out incorrectly. Right? No, it doesn't go like that. It does go like... Oh well. Let's see. That photo could work. We'll see. The million. Okay. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I like that area of where Modern Domestic is. That was kind of new the last time I was there. Yeah, you know, Liza, I think you're right. Because I can already see. So if I put this on the side seam right here, whoop, like this, you can already see. Can you see that? See, it's doing this. The fabric's just so dark. Sorry, guys. So, can you see that? Okay, wait. I just got a good angle. See this right here? A little extra fabric there. This wouldn't be tethered to my side seam, you know, it'd be hanging out here with the sleeve on it. It'd be more like that, but I do see this right here. You know, and I would want to get rid of this as a dart, or maybe even... The other thing is, I don't like this kind of thing where there's extra in the armhole, you know? So I could get rid of this a little bit. Find it, get it onto the apex there. Yeah, we'll have some fitting streams soon. Make sure this is parallel to center front there. But yeah. We'll see. It does look like a dart. Well, Eliza, I mean, what you could do, though, is the way I would simplify that is I would put these two pieces together, tape them together, and do the exact same thing on both. And then once you have it on there, you know, pull that apart. Just make sure you add extra paper to both, you know? Yeah. Horribly enabling store. I am all about that. I feel like I haven't gotten to go fabric shopping in forever. There's just not a lot of garment fabric stores where I'm at. So it already is really hard. In fact, I was going to ask Hearts if they're... Oh, I pinned straight through the tape measure there. I was going to ask Hearts if they're open for business. I'm probably going to go down this summer just to go fabric shopping. It's like 3.5 hours for me. There's some really great quilting stores in my region. So, yeah, but I could see, Eliza, that if you're already thinking, oh my gosh, I got to do that to it, and then you see all these pieces and they're all different shapes and sizes, I could see that it would be a little overwhelming and not as incentivizing to do that. So, because I do that too. It's like almost like sometimes I'll panic over something and I'll be like, ugh, and then I'm like, calm down, Sammy, boil it down to the lowest common denominator. And what would that be? Okay, it is two fronts. They have the same armhole. This whole thing is the same right here, you know? There it is, you know, look at that. So yeah, I would just do it to both the exact same thing and just tape these pieces together. You could even tape these two pieces together, do the whole change, and then cut them apart and add seam allowance to that seam, and that way you probably have less to fix by way of adding to this dart and piecing it together, making sure it stays the same going on to that pattern piece. Just put this, put this piece back together like it originally was. Get rid of that seam. Treat it like one. Do the FBA, and then cut it apart and add the seam allowance to those edges. It probably doesn't sound like it makes sense to do it that way, that you're like, why would you add seam allowance to that? Because when you add that dart in there and you have an angle with something, you want to keep that, the integrity of that. And who knows, maybe you're adding a dart here and here, or here and here, or here and here. Ay caramba. And if your dart ends up landing on this line, then you'd have the opportunity to move that line here or there, wherever you want. Or getting rid of it altogether, like Adina originally was like, why do we need that? Maybe you just put your ties to your side seam here and have it come across, There's options there. You don't have to have it tethered to there. You could have it come from to the side seam, and then it ties right here on the side rather than right here. Each of the two pieces, well, you would have one dart, because remember, once this seam is together, this piece is together here, then you could do your dart. You would just do your dart as if this was one pattern piece, because on your body is one thing. So you wouldn't sew that dart until these two pieces are together anyway. You know what I mean? I'm so bad at explaining it. Yes, Eliza. It is only there for the ties. And I think also just to add a seam there for a design aesthetic, But I personally think like they probably field tested this, and because so the background of this top, they asked like, oh, where'd you get the inspiration for this top? Because it's called the Texas top. And this was a dress or a top that she designed for herself to wear at a wedding in Texas. So that's why it's called that. Yeah, there's no shaping to this seam right now. That's just my poor cutting right there. There's no shaping on that. You don't even have to have it. You could hide the dart. Well, you could hide a waist dart in the seam. Yeah. Yeah. But you couldn't just put a dart here and it end here unless it naturally ends there. Because if the dart is still going when it gets to the seam, it needs to continue in there. You have to do that, because otherwise, if you put the dart here, it would be too short. It wouldn't line up there. What else you got? What else you got? I wish this fabric was a little lighter so you could see a little more detail and we could talk about it a little better. I'm trying to still figure out how to show the pants fitting on Saturday. I want to do a good job of that, but I don't have a pants form, and my dress form isn't a pants form, and I can't do it on me on camera. It'll be hard. Yeah, right, Barbara. Exactly. If it's a waist dart, you could even, yeah, Eliza, honestly, I mean, you could just make this a princess seam. You know what I mean? And put a dart up here and a dart down here. And you could even do it on this piece. That's a good idea. You guys are so smart. All right, well, I think that's all I have for you guys today. So we'll sew this tomorrow. Do French seams. Take a little bit longer, but I'm going to try and sew the whole thing tomorrow so that this freed up Saturday to do the fitting of the Dawn jeans. Yeah, Liza. I mean, I think that you're talking about draping then. You know what I mean? Like, if you have it on here. This is the one without the dart. You're going to have to figure out where is this shoulder seam here. And then what I would do is pin this one to the back, pin it at the side seam so that it's hanging naturally on the body. Find out where this overlap is here. This is most assuredly all flat right here, no matter who you are. So then I know that this is probably lining up more like that. So I think like I can kind of see, now if I want the side seam up here, you could do a side princess seam. So then it's, you know, something like this. You know. It could, Nancy. It could. I mean, I feel that way sometimes about my Scout tee, but you can't even see the darts. And I love the way it fits. You know, it doesn't get hung up on me. It doesn't bunch right there, look weird. Like for me, I need a little bit more of a flare at the hip because my back waist is a little narrow and I don't think my shoulders poke out, but it looks like they do. I mean, you can kind of see. Look at that belly. But if you couldn't see that, you know, you're just looking at the back. Is it really that different? I think that partly it comes from me being a toe walker all my life. I've been walking on my toes since I was born. Since the day I could walk, I've been walking on my toes. They tried to break it of me. It just wouldn't work. And it's just some things you do naturally. Each human is different. And because of that, I've built up the muscles along the backs of my legs a little bit differently probably than the average person. I wear clogs a lot and things like that. My Achilles tendons are bent, so they're short. And that's why I'm a toe walker. So, you know, like maybe that has shaped me. Maybe that's tilted my hips. Because even just a tiny little bit has a big impact. Like we've talked about, if you cut this out and you cut it 1/8 of an inch off, and then you sew this one 1/8 of an inch off, and then you sew that one 1/8 of an inch off. I mean, you're quickly building up to 1 inch of circumference. And if you're even more inaccurate, like a lot of folks when they're first starting out, that 5/8 inch seam allowance, it's just too much. And I think it's there really so that people have some fitting ease. They can let it out or, you know, whatever, take it in. But that's 1.25 inches at every seam. So if you have even just 2 side seams, that's 2.5 inches in seam allowance. That's a lot. And so if you're not accurate in your seams, then, and your garment doesn't fit and it's too big, or the sleeve doesn't go on because you sewed these at 3/8 of an inch and you just added 1/2 inch right there, you know, then your sleeve doesn't fit and you're frustrated. Or what'll happen too is the sleeve will go on there because there's ease in the sleeve and you're like, oh, my sleeve wasn't hard to set on, but then it's kind of feels shallow across the bicep because you didn't add that ease in there. Those little tiny amounts add up a lot. So why wouldn't they if my hips were tilted a tiny bit more than someone else's, or, you know, I don't know. I think like the idea of drafting patterns in as many sizes as possible for pattern companies is great, but it's impossible because at the end of the day, we're all still unique, and we probably came to sewing because clothes don't fit us very well and we really want them to. So you got to give a little bit of grace to a pattern company if they're adding as many sizes as possible and they're still having some fit issues. I have to do the same fit things on everything. It doesn't mean their pattern's wrong. But there's definitely a lot of pattern companies out there that don't really take it into consideration at all, or they decided what they think is right, or who they want to wear their pattern, and I don't agree with that kind of thinking at all. So you just gotta figure out what works for you sometimes, and then just not put your money on those other patterns that you're just like, they are just never gonna draft for me. I've actually thought, and I was asking someone, what's the ethical implications if I were to start teaching people how to draft popular indie sewing patterns that don't come in their size? What is the ethical ramifications of that? That's not something I probably would do. But boy, I've seen a lot of people that are really frustrated with a certain company or a certain pattern. They really, really want to make that pattern, and it just doesn't come in their size. But maybe they've gone to the years and toil of making their own block. What's wrong with teaching that person how to draft that pattern for them? If they're not a pattern company and they're not going to market and sell it, and if they were, that's them doing the wrong thing too, you know? Like there's some ethics with that. But if they're not going to make the pattern in your size, why not teach you how to do it, you know? Anyway, I think about those things just because coming from the garment industry, it cracks me up when I hear people talk about copyright, or when we've had pattern companies accuse me of giving away their pattern for free on here, which you guys, obviously I do not do that. And I find that really funny, since I came from the garment industry and that was so heavily regulated. And it's just like the constant thing, because I was in the fashion industry, you know, like it's gross. I was in a locked design room at one point with no fire exit because they were so worried about spies. Like, it was dumb, but, you know, paranoia, you know. So I definitely take that all seriously. But I do want to enable people too. Would you please teach us to draw a simple pant or top this summer? I would love to, Eliza. That is a really big project. It's a really big project for me to do it for free on YouTube. I'll be really blunt about that, because the amount of off-camera work for that would be kind of epic. Because I did do the block series, and it's funny because someone's been watching it and think, wow, this is actually really good. I'm like, oh, good. I'm glad you're liking it, you know? And I think we all got kind of stuck there, and people were feeling a little nervous because they didn't have someone to help them fit it. So we didn't continue on. And I started with the blocks. It's easier. It's also less nerve-wracking than pants. Yeah, Dina. I've never taught a class on that. I just saw someone had a class in person and all their people just arrived for their pants fitting week. None of them wearing masks. I was like, oh, I guess we're there. Yeah, exactly, Adina. You already have to do that. Yeah. Yeah, I know. Yeah, so it would be so nice to do that in person. Clothing is not copyrighted. No, I know. But there is some ethics around, yeah, I mean, like, this goes back. Like, remember my knit print fabric story? So, I have that fabric. Does really well in Spoonflower. People love it. Looks like knitting. And there was a very popular podcaster and one of them makes bags. They copied it. I'm pretty sure they were buying it and using it, and then I didn't know that. And then I made it not for sale anymore on Spoonflower, only because we were putting it back into the chicken boots line, had been in the line, and then I took it out of the line for a couple of years, because people were missing the fabric, and I was like, oh, I'll put it up for sale on Spoonflower, and that was great. I didn't mind other people that competed against me using it. That was fine. And so I did that, and then I wanted to introduce it back in the line, and Rayanne and I decided, we were like, okay, do we take it off of Spoonflower or not? And I was like, I think we should, while it's in our line, because it's our fabric. And that was at my right to do that, So I did that, and then this one company was doing really well with selling bags made in my fabric. They decided to copy it. Which was legally totally fine. They did not, see, because what happened was they started selling notebooks made with the knit print on it, and I thought it was my knit print. I thought it was my image on their notebook, and they had taken a picture of it or something. And that was where I went wrong. And so then when I figured that out, I was like, okay, cool, whatever. But man, did their followers come after me, because I just asked them. And I was like, hey, I think that's my knit print. And then they came after me about it, their followers and everything. I was just like, I just let it go. It got me too riled up. Even just thinking about it kind of got me riled up about it. And I was like, yeah, you're right. They can. They knit the yarn. They took another photograph and then they started doing it and they made it look exactly like, it was so hard to tell them apart. And I thought, where's the ethics in that? You know what I mean? So it's like, they can do that legally. You're right. But is it very classy? No. Yes, exactly, Adina. And that's why I said, what's the ethical ramifications of doing something like that? Because I'm not here to push those boundaries, honestly. I'm just trying to empower people. So, you did, Nancy? Ooh, thanks. Thank you. That's awesome. Yeah, it is. It's Sydney. Yeah. I am still live a little bit. We're done. Yeah, and I would have clients come to me. Oh, and just a funny note to that story. At one of the shows that I do really, really good at, I have a really good booth. I had a double booth there. Craftsy was across from me, and they had those folks as guests in their booth. And I thought, this is great. Maybe now we can be like, hey, how's it going? You know, sorry about like that. You know, we were both kind of heated up about that. But no, they never wanted to like bury the hatchet over it, because I was just like, okay, cool, dude, that's fine. Now I know you did it correctly. And people were like, well, you did it. It's not like you invented it. I'm like, no, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I thought it was a photograph of my fabric. It's not great. See ya, bye. And they were sending me these messages in Etsy that were terrible, like really terrible. And anytime someone wrote a comment on their page, they would delete it, like defending me. And I was like, oh yeah, I need to get out of here. This is not my space. This is their thing. I do not mean to poke this bear. I asked, and then I put a posting on my Instagram, not even naming them, and just said, hey, I'm just having this little thing, and I just want to say, this is my fabric, and I'm really proud of it, you know? So, and then that's when it kind of all hit the fan. But then I had to look at them for like 3 hours at a show, and they would just give me dirty looks, and I thought, gosh darn it, why can't we just be like, yo, sorry, I assumed that, but I've already apologized to you for that. You know? Oh, well. Anyway. The letter of the law versus the heart. Yeah. That would have been fine, Nancy. Yeah. I mean, they could have totally done that, you know. I don't know if they still use it, but what they ended up doing was they started knitting tons of different yarns and making a bunch of different prints out of it. So good for them, you know. I mean, whatever. I don't know if they continue to use that one that looked like it. I don't really care. I don't want to know, because I get too, like, it was very personal, especially because my husband was out of town. And I just remember feeling very alone in the whole thing, like just sitting there on the corner of my bed going, wait, I just wanted to know. I asked you privately. And this was the problem. We had both DM'd each other on Instagram, and neither one of us got each other's messages. And so that's when we moved to Etsy. And then I was like, oh, shoot. I almost cussed just now. I was like, I should not have even poked this bear, because these are a couple of bears, and they were very poked. So, I know, it could have been really cool. People love these too. They love them. I just saw someone I really like on Instagram get on their podcast, and I was like, oh. So, I don't know, Adina. I mean, why? Like, I didn't do anything. I got hot and bothered over something I shouldn't have. But the thing was, I literally thought it was a photocopy. I even held it up before I asked. I held up their notebook to my fabric, and I was like, that's my fabric. And I asked a bunch of people, because I was like, let's make sure before I ask. And then I asked them. I didn't publicly do it. It got ugly. And I just thought, like, oh, wow, you guys are defending this. But do you really hear what you're saying? So that's cool. That's cool that they decided to copy something that was mine. So that's cool with you guys. All right, good to know. Yeah, legally they can do that, but that's ethically okay with you guys? And you're mad at me? All right. I got you. Good to know. So, yeah, I mean, so that's the thing is like when I talk about, because I follow some people on Instagram, a lot of people that are very frustrated with having all patterns in their sizes. One of them even brought up that they were a supporter of the Gertie. What's Gertie's? You know, Gertie, that she does the really cool vintage patterns. She was a supporter of her Patreon, and they just kept lying and saying they weren't gonna really do. They kept saying, "Oh yeah, we'll eventually have those sizes, or just grade up, and we'll teach you how." And it's not the same thing. And so, you know, that kind of thing. It's like, ooh, you know who I'm talking about? Maybe I should just be quiet because I am not poking that bear again. So, anywho, I shouldn't have brought that up, but but anyway, that fabric does really well for me. I know in my heart it's mine. Maybe there's even selling it on there. I don't know. So whatever. It's Gucci. It's all the same. Yeah, but I thought it would be kind of cool. Like, say someone wanted the tea house dress and the tea house dress doesn't come in their size. I'd be like, oh, you have your own block? Let me show you how to do this, you know? I think that'd be kind of cool. It also can also end up being positive exposure for the company as well and saying, hey, these patterns come in these sizes and buy the pattern and we can grade it up. Oh, charm patterns, that's what it's called. Thank you. I would have never remembered that because I forget when people have different names, you know? So yeah, that was the thing for me and Dina that I do like closure for something, and I would rather, even, we don't have to be friends, we don't have to be buddies, we don't even have to say a kind thing about each other on the internet, but it would be really nice to just face to face be like, yo, I'm really sorry that that's what I thought, and then when you didn't reply, I figured that was true, you know? So and they didn't, and you know, and because of the way they were looking at me, I could tell they did not want me to approach them, you know? So, oh well. It's been years. I am definitely over it, but it does get me a little like I don't handle that kind of stuff very well. Yeah, and they do show people, right, Serena? But I think in some sizes, you just can't grade up that far. Oh, that's cool. Closet Historian. She takes her block and edits it into other patterns and styles. Oh, that's cool, Mrs. Necro. Would you guys be down for that? Okay, because this is my thing with my Beatrice. I have my own block and I want to make my own patterns, but I've felt like that wouldn't be good for you guys because you're like, but we can't buy that pattern or we don't have our own block. Because I would really love to make more clothes using my block. That would be something I'd be really into. Maybe I should just do it because I like to do things that I'm into because then I'm totally into it, you know? I don't get paid, like, so why not just do whatever I want? If you guys are into that, I am down for that. We could work on the lighting a little better, too. Yeah, you guys tell me that. I mean, I like the pattern drafting, too, so. What would be like a, yeah, I asked this, but it might not be. I need more how-tos to do. How to get your block. Eliza, you were there when we did the block series, right? Where do you think you got stuck? They don't really show you how to... Oh, really, Serena? That's a bummer. Yeah, so if anyone is interested, I'm pretty sure the playlist on my YouTube, this is where they're located. There is a block. Hello, Charles. Welcome. Or in. I'm not, maybe your first name is in. Where are all these subscribers all of a sudden? Oh, and I hit 8,000 subscribers, you guys. Whoa. That was really fast. Like, I was like, oh, I have like 50 people to go. That'll be like mid-May. And I'm like over 8,000 now. Well over. So, what the heck? Where is all this coming from? Maybe YouTube holds it and then releases a bunch of it at the same time. As long as you don't sell the patterns or garments free to probably, yeah, right? Maybe I need to turn off the subscribers. It's awesome. Welcome! If you're watching. Really? You guys are down for that? Oh my gosh. Be careful what you wish for. Because before I started my channel, all I did was draft my own blocks or patterns. Well, the block, I had you do the front and the back block. So I felt like people weren't getting to it to fix it, or they were getting stuck. Maybe we should revisit that. So in my playlist, my pattern drafting playlist, there is how to draft your own block. If you're a Patreon patron, you can get the handouts too to make it even easier. Aw, thanks, Nancy. You're so nice. All right. Yeah, if they're not even doing it at all, Serena, they're not doing it. You cannot grade 20 inches up either. There's just, you can't do that. I don't know where their size range stops, but and they know that. They know they can't do it that far. How to make a commercial pattern turn into a block pattern. Oh, well, that's a good idea. I mean, I think like that's a good one, Mrs. Necro, because I've actually been thinking like, what pattern would I have people start with, but it would have to come in a lot of sizes. I actually think like the Aster by Colette, but it's probably not even in print anymore. The Facebook group specify that. All right. I think that's what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do. We're going to find a pattern that everyone can use as a block. We'll tailor it to fit ourselves to make that block. Get everything at those points, because my block, I don't make it like the one you draft in my pattern drafting thing. It's tight with like no ease. It is your body. And that's the thing. We didn't get it past the point to make it into a usable block. I like to have it to where there's a little bit of ease, not much, just a tiny bit, so I can get it onto my dress form and maybe onto me. And I also don't have the neck like all the way up to where the juncture is, because that's just, no one's going to do that. You can always add it. The Ashton top by Helen's Closet. Does that have darts, Malin? Is there a, you know what? That's actually a good idea, because she puts her, I'm pretty sure she puts her apex on patterns, right? She did one from a book. It was just a lot of measurements. That's how mine is, Mrs. Necro. Yeah, mine has that. That's you. I give you like, these are the measurements you need. And then from A to B, you're going to do this and that. They do, Barbara? Okay. Yeah, I'd like to get something a little bit more modern. The Ashton top. Let's check it out. We need something that has the darts relatively in a good spot. Because it'd be really nice if that one thing wasn't something we had to dink around with a lot. We can work on the other aspects. Yeah, there's no sleeves on that. We need something with sleeves. Oh, there's an expansion pack. All right, I'm gonna look at that. Yeah, it has a bit, it's a bit A-line. Yeah, let me look around. There's also certain button downs. We need something that comes in a lot of sizes and has darts and a sleeve. Okay. Yeah, I think that'd be cool. Oh, okay, Mrs. Necro. Wait, who did? The person, the closet historian? Yeah, that's easy though. That's pretty much easy. Which one, Serena? All right, well, cool. Pattern drafting. Yes. No, we can't do it right now, Eliza. Don't worry. It'll be like late May, maybe. Or June. So, yeah, don't worry. I can't do that quickly either. I have to, like, prepare. And we have other things going on. Okay, cool, Mrs. Necro. You can do it, like, in a comment of a video or in Instagram DMs or Facebook. If you're in the Facebook group, you could do it there. I'm trying to think where you're allowed to post the link and it won't, like, shut you down. It might not let you do the comment on YouTube, but I'll see it. It'll be held for review. Oh, they are, Adina? Ooh. Barbie top. What? What's that, Serena? That's what's called? Oh, is that, are you talking about charm? Ooh, I love the idea of drafting a design. So fun. Let's do it. I'm a little nervous and I think that means it's a good thing. You know? It's so funny because I would have loved to start my own pattern company for women's clothing. And I haven't. I know you guys have mentioned that before, but I don't because I feel like I just am a one-person show and I could not do the live stream and that because they're like both almost full-time gigs. And then I see people's some patterns and I'm just like, oh my God, this is so like bare bones. So maybe I could get away with it, but I could never put something out in the world unless it was polished. So it's like that one of those things. You can try in here, but I think it'll bounce you out. And I don't have the control center open, so I can't allow your link. I'm not in a moderated view, in other words. Let's see if I can get there, though. Let's see. All right. I am now... Oh, shoot. No, I can't do that. I don't know how to use this control room thing. I just want to see my stream. Shoot. I'm not going to do that. It'll start another stream. Oh, you did? Okay, Miss Necro. I'll allow your... Yeah, if anyone wants to be in our Facebook group, you're all welcome. There's been a lot of chatter in there lately. It's nice. All right, I'm going to get going, though. I got so much stuff. And now that we're going out of town, I'm like, eek! I have to, like, get so much stuff done. Even though it's like 2 or 3 weeks away. You'll do it in a comment. Okay. Yeah, and if it doesn't work, if it doesn't post for you, I might be able to see it. And if I don't see it, I'll let you know. Okay? It'll like hold it for review. So, all right. I'm going to head out. I will see you tomorrow. We're sewing this up. Thanks for the great chat, you guys. Oh, okay. Malin is so like, Malin needs a like, she needs to be the news anchor for the sewing channel, if there was one, like, you know. Yeah, Dina's like, yeah. We'll do as much as we can during the summer when all of you are out of school, too. All you teachers and students and professors. Yeah, and it's for knit. Okay. Womp womp. I could teach you how to take your block and make it a knit block, too. Dina, you want to be my assistant then? Can you work for free? I need help. I would love to do that. I would love to do that. All right. I'm going to head out. Thanks for coming. Thanks for being here. And I will see you guys tomorrow, 11 a.m. Pacific. I'm in California. And, oh, you just Googled it. You're so quick, though. And Saturday, I'll be fitting the Dawn jeans by Megan Nielsen. I think that's what these are. I cannot wait to get this project off my table because the denim doesn't fit in the little bin, you know? And it's bugging me. So I'll be making these next week. The lighting is so good for that right there. And I think pinks and this colors just show up so good on camera. You're welcome, Corey. Thanks for coming and chatting with us. Yeah, Adina could be a lawyer. Oh, yeah, exactly, Adina. But I don't want to be one of those companies. I don't want to be one of those companies. I'd need 3 size ranges. That's a lot, you know? So, all right. Hasta mañana, iguanas. I will see you guys soon. Thanks, you guys. Appreciate it. Thanks for the tip, Ray, as well. Thanks. Bye, guys.